Well, thank you all again for being here today. We are very glad that you're here. As I said, this event is co-presented by Dean of Students, UNT Police, and then Emergency Management here. We're really excited that you're here. This is an event we try to do every long semester, and so we just thank you for being here, and we hope that you learned something, and we do encourage you to engage with us through the chat and just be part of the event with us today. So just some tips for a great seminar, just to make this event as enjoyable as possible, even though it's through Zoom and not in person as we would prefer it to be. Do use the reactions that are available to you via Zoom. That's just one way to increase the interactivity. Also engage in the chat. If we say something that interests you, maybe something you have a unique perspective on, or you have stories to share, please drop those in the chat and respond to other people's posts as well. Obviously keep it friendly and keep it appropriate, but we found that our events are so much more successful when we have engagement with our audience. And so as we go through this as well, don't hesitate to ask questions in the chat. We have multiple presenters today, so we will all be monitoring the chat from our end, either answering them within the chat or answering them through today's session. Also keep an eye out for this icon here. Hopefully you can see my mouse circling this green square with a checkbox in it. We have about 4 polls we're going to go through today. So whenever you see this icon in the lower left side of your screen, that means we will be launching a poll. So I hope you will engage with those as well. So just the agenda for today, we will introduce our presenters quickly. We'll also talk about we'll then lead into really the bulk of the presentation. Emergency management will talk about how to prepare for and respond to disasters and emergencies. Then Officer Kazi with the police department will talk about how to maintain your personal safety, how to be prepared for active threat events. And then Dr. Mo McGinnis will talk about how to support sexual assault survivors and support struggling UNT community members. So with that, let's go ahead and meet our presenters. So to kick it off, I will introduce UNT Emergency Management. My name is Julie Elliott. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator with UNT Emergency Management. I'm also joined by Scotty Selman, who is the Director of Emergency Management, as well as Justin Stewart, our Business Continuity Program Manager. So actually the 3 of us will be presenting. We have a big community outreach portion of our department, and so each one of us, you've likely interacted with us at some point in time or will in the future. So all 3 of us wanted an opportunity to come and present today. But our office's primary mission, our goal is to support a culture of safety and emergency preparedness throughout the UNT community. We are the primary office on campus for emergency preparedness information and resources. We provide a lot of services to the UNT campus. One of the most primary ones is our 24/7 weather monitoring. We also provide fire and life safety services, continuity of operations planning, international travel risk control. We help with event planning, ensuring those events are able to run smoothly and safely. And we also staff an emergency operations center here on campus that is activated for large events and emergencies. And with that, we will hand it over to Officer Kazi with the UNT Police, who will introduce himself and his department.
I knew I was going to catch myself. Hello, I'm Officer David Kazi, and I am the Community Relations Officer for UNT PD. I've been with the department for right at 9 years, and in this position for a little over 2. A little bit about our department is that we have 45 sworn officers, and we do get our jurisdiction from the Education Code. That's one thing that people often ask us about, is that our jurisdiction is basically anywhere the university owns or rents property, we have jurisdiction through that entire county. So right now, that's Denton, Dallas, Cook, Collin, and Tarrant counties. And that's not only us, but that's any university. So like TWU has a Houston campus that would give them jurisdiction down there. A little bit of knowledge for you guys. We are also a dual accredited agency through CALEA and ICALEA. Those are basically, they're a third-party entity that comes and has their set of best practices for a department. And following those just shows that we are dedicated to being a well-trained professional department. And then we are split into 3 different service areas. We have our field services, investigative services, and support services. And one thing that we always like to tout is that about half of our officers are UNT graduates, and we even have some officers and members of our department who have children that go to school at UNT. So we're not just like an agency that just comes here to work and then leaves. We're actually a part of this community.
Great. Thank you so much, Officer Kazi. Mo, do you want to introduce yourself and Dean of Students?
Sure. My name is Maureen. I go by Mo McGinnis. I'm the Dean of Students. I'm also a Deputy Title IX Coordinator, and so we can talk about those issues if we need to. Our office enforces the Code of Student Conduct, and so when a student misbehaves, which we don't have a lot of referrals, we address the Code of Student Conduct with students. We do care team referrals for students, and then faculty and staff. I'll make sure that we talk a little bit about care team with faculty and staff. This past year, we've seen an increase in all care team referrals, and more the acuity than so much the numbers, but the pandemic has really impacted everybody in our community. We'll talk a little bit about sexual misconduct, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking through the survivor advocate and how she helps our students struggling with those issues. We'll talk about students with medical and car accidents and a bunch of different things that may impact them staying in school, with things that happen outside the classroom, and then student death as well.
All right, thank you so much, Mo. And with that, we will go ahead and jump into our presentation here. The first section is about preparing for and responding to disasters and emergencies. So to kick off this section, I'm going to hand it over to Scotty. So Scotty, I'm giving you control right now, and the presentation's yours. Oh, you're muted, Scotty.
Oh man, I've already messed up. Didn't even getting one word out and I already messed up. Anyway, hey, this is Scotty. Thanks, Julie. Appreciate it. So during the initial portion of this presentation, as far as our focus on emergency preparedness, we're really going to look at the different resources and tools that are available to you that will assist you in your preparedness efforts. Julie had mentioned in the introduction to our department that our mission really is to promote and support a culture of emergency preparedness and safety throughout the community. And one of the things that we put a lot of emphasis on, a heavy emphasis, is really individual preparedness. We work very hard with our campus community to create that mindset that everyone's responsible for their safety. Everyone's responsible for their preparedness. We're here to help you. So we can assist you. We can provide you resources and tools. That's why we exist. And quite frankly, we love what we do, and we love to work with the campus community and do everything we can to help you to prepare. But ultimately, it's up to you. And so we want to encourage you to take advantage of those tools and the resources that we have available to you. And also never hesitate ever to give us a call and ask for assistance, whether you want us to review your plans, whether you want us to do an on-site visit, do a walkthrough with you, provide some training, whatever it is. You have an event coming up and you would like to get some input from an emergency preparedness perspective or a safety perspective, please give us a call. Trust me, we'll be there in a flash. We really love to do that sort of thing. So anyway, one of the first things, let me make sure I know how to do this. So let's see here. Okay, Julie. Oh, there we go. So one of the first things that you can do to ensure that you are prepared for an emergency or a crisis situation is to sign up to receive emergency notifications and alerts. And that might kind of seem like, well, that's a given, but you'd be surprised, even with the severe weather that we have coming in today, later this afternoon, the potential for severe weather. I've heard a couple of people where we were just talking in the hallway and they're like, oh, we got severe weather today. So, you know, a lot of us who do this every day, you just kind of assume that everybody is aware, but not everybody is. So, you know, make sure that you take that step, make sure that you're signed up to receive emergency notifications and emergency alerts. One of the things that we that we definitely recommend is to have at least 3 means of receiving emergency notification. And that's just an emergency management principle. You always build redundancies into your plan. So if one fails, you have another one that's going to kick in and pick up where that other one may have failed. So we really recommend you have at least 3 means of receiving emergency notifications. Now, Justin and Julia probably laugh, but I think I've signed up for about every means available to receive alerts and notifications. And trust me, when these things go off in the middle of the night, my wife grabs the pillow and smacks me in the head because they go off for about 30 minutes. I don't know how many I've signed. I've lost track of how many I've signed up for. But anyway, I don't feel too bad about it. I'm prepared. I'm taking responsibility. But anyways, first and foremost, Eagle Alert, that's our primary means for sending campus-wide emergency notifications. That's a system that we utilize. We manage that in our office. Most of you, of course, are very familiar with Eagle Alert. You're automatically enrolled into it. There's nothing that you have to do to enroll. But the reason that we mention this, and again, we know everybody's familiar with Eagle Alert, but the reason we mention this is that please make sure you keep your information up to date. So if you get a new cell phone number, you need to go into the system, and it's super easy. Just log in. Again, if you're staff at myuntsystem.edu, and students and faculty will use the my.unt.edu, but it's real easy. Just go in, update your information, but please make sure that if that information changes, keep it up to date so that you get these messages and these alerts if we send something out. We'll go ahead and mention CodeRED. This is an offering that's available to you through the city of Denton. And the reason we mention this is, like we said, we would like for you to have 3 different ways or means by which you can receive emergency alerts. So here's another option for you to sign up for. The other reason that we really like for you to go ahead and sign up for the city of Denton and their CodeRED emergency alert system is that as far as severe weather, the only alert that we're going to usually send out will be a tornado warning. So if you would like to get alerts, if there's a severe thunderstorm warning or something along those lines, flash flooding, some other severe weather event, then we recommend that you sign up for CodeRED because they will send out alerts for those others. But again, Eagle Alert, when it comes to severe weather, and that could change in time, but for right now, that's the only actual alert that we will send out for severe weather is tornado warnings. So if you'd like to get other alerts and other warnings, please sign up for CodeRED. And just go to the City of Denton Emergency Management website, and that's where you can sign up for that. Another offering to you is the Denton County Emergency Alerts. They actually use the same platform that we do, but it's an expanded version that enables you to sign up for a number of different types of alerts. That's one of the things I like about the Denton County is that you can actually, when you sign up, you can go through and there's a drop-down menu and you can expand all the different categories of alerts, and you can actually customize the alerts that you receive. So you can go through, you can check, okay, I want to be notified if we have high winds even, or I want to be notified if there's a flooding event in my particular area. So you can actually go through and check which alerts that you want. And of course, everybody's familiar with our sirens. You hear them usually when we test, and we usually try to post on social media to give everybody a heads up. Of course, the city, if it's not sunshiny and it's not a beautiful day and it's cloudy and windy and anything like that, if you hear them, it's not a test, it's the real deal. But one thing I do want to emphasize is those sirens could be used for any kind of outdoor emergency, not just severe weather. And that's what they're designed for. So any kind of outdoor emergency, the city could choose to activate their outdoor warning system, siren system. When you hear those sirens, again, what that is telling you is that there is an outdoor emergency, whether it's severe weather, maybe it is a chemical spill, a hazardous material incident in the city. That's what it's telling you. And what you need to do immediately is go inside, go to KNTU, turn on the radio, and listen for updated information. They have an agreement with KNTU so that whenever they activate those sirens, they will give more information on the radio as to what is actually going on. One thing I'll mention too as well, just because I've actually received quite a few calls over the past several years, is, hey, listen, I heard the sirens went off and I was in class and I couldn't hear them. That's not what they're designed for. They're not designed to be heard inside. That's a misperception that some have as far as the outdoor warning sirens. They are designed for outdoor events. If you're outdoors, go inside. So if you can't hear them when you're inside, that doesn't mean they're not working properly. They are. They're not designed for that reason. Any questions before Julie? We have any questions so far as to these different sources, resources, and tools? Whoops.
No, I don't think we have any, no questions in the chat at this point. Mo brought up a really good point about adding another contact as your second phone number for Eagle Alert. I think that's just an excellent idea so that your loved ones can be informed whenever we send out an Eagle Alert. But I think we're ready for a poll if you'd like to launch that
No,
now,
I
Swanee.
actually skipped over a slide.
Oh.
Do you know how I go backwards? I can't figure it out. There.
So this should be the next one.
You're right. Good. Okay. As Julie said, there's a poll just wanting to see how many different social media, how many different sources you use to receive information.
Yeah, so hop on and answer now. All right.
Oh, that's cool.
Almost everyone has answered. I'll give you like 4 more seconds, so get your answer in quick. Yes, and please drop in the chat if you use another source. I see we've got a few people that have answered they use a different source, so share it with us. All right, so I'm going to end the poll now. Okay, so yay, 100% said Eagle Alert. That's the correct answer. But I also see we've got CodeRED on there is a big one, Denton County Alerts, and then social media, we got 54%. That's a good number. That's awesome. And then we've got some folks who have chimed into the chat. Town of Bartonville has a alert system. That's great. And if you don't live in Denton, you don't live in Denton County, definitely check what your local emergency notification sources are.
By the way, Mo, that's Scotty's phone number is not an option, by the way. So. No, actually it is. Call me anytime, 24/7. I'm there, ready to go. I noticed that the FEMA app was mentioned, and yeah. I just wanted to reference that. That's actually a really good app. I have it on my phone as well. It has a lot of really good emergency related information, emergency preparedness, and so forth. But you can also sign up to get alerts through the FEMA app. So that just reminded me, that's one of the other sources that I utilize. So that's a good app. Very good. And yes, Shauna, 24/7. Trust me, you of anybody should know that because you've called me at all hours of the night. So anyway, excuse me, everybody's distracted me with their comments. But anyway. So good, but I will continue here. So another resource that we have available to you is our social media channels that you can utilize on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I highly encourage you, I strongly encourage you to follow us on our social media. We all use it. I'll have to say that Julie manages our social media for the most part, and she does an outstanding job. You will find some very, very good information on our social media channels. We do use it to communicate even during a crisis situation. Our primary means is always going to be Eagle Alert, but for ongoing latest breaking information, we will use our social media channels to push out information, whether it be from the National Weather Service or other sources and things like that. And we'll post things like if there's a road closure due to a gas leak, we'll retweet that information. It's just whatever's going on in the area that could potentially impact our campus and information that we want to get out quickly, then we'll use our social media. So we really do encourage you to follow us and everything like that. So at Mean Green Ready, I'm expecting people right now. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not going to say another word. The slides are not going to progress. We're going to sit here until I see that our social media is getting some new likes and some new followers. People think I'm kidding. I'm not. I'm waiting. Julie, have we seen anybody sign up yet?
I don't know.
I just signed up, Scotty.
Okay.
All right.
Or I went to Facebook and I hit the little thumbs up liked. So
there you go. Okay, good. All right. Well, I'll move on. At least I got one new like. Oh, Diana just gave me a thumbs up. Jesus, very good. We got another thumbs up. Nice. Good deal. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, please follow us. Good info. So did we have another poll on this one, Julie, or am I misreading?
That was it.
Why is it I can't get this to, there we go. Okay, here's another important resource for you is our app. And we're pretty proud of this app. And there's a lot of really good information that we make available on our emergency preparedness app. But one of the things that I'll mention that you can access through our app that is so very helpful is our emergency floor plans. So you can go right on the app, no matter where you're at, in any time, no matter what building you're in. If you're not familiar with it, go ahead and take just a minute, open up our app, look at the floor plan, identify your shelter areas. Within those floor plans, we also denote where the AED, the automatic external defibrillators, are located in that building. We show you where all the evacuation routes. It shows where your safe meeting points are. So that's one of the things, and I've actually got into the habit of doing that, trying to practice what I preach. But I know from time to time, I might find myself in a building or a floor of a building that I'm not too familiar with. This is a big campus. So, I mean, you know, regardless of how many years you've worked here, you might find yourself in a meeting or in a class or a training session in a building or a floor, an area that you're not familiar with. Go ahead and take the time prior when you get there and open up the app and check out, see where your safest routes are to get out of the building, where your safe meeting points are, where your shelter areas are located, and different things like that. Super easy to use. I'm asking everybody, if you haven't downloaded our app, I sure would appreciate it if you would do so. All right, I've got one thumbs up. I guess, Julie, I won't threaten everybody again this time. I saw you frowning at me when I did that last time, so I won't do it.
Yeah, you know, you guys even have Woodhill on here. That's pretty good.
Yep, no, it's a good app. I mean, I'll just real quick. I don't know if y'all can see that very good, but there's the app on the phone, and I'll just show you, you know, for example, the emergency floor plans. Now, we also have emergency guidelines that we have posted with some good information specific to UNT with important information. But you can go to the floor plans, and I'll just pick the art building, for example. You can see when you open it up, all of our buildings are located right there. Just open it up, and then you can pull up the information right there. And we have this for every single building on campus. Super easy, right there in your pocket. And of course, I mean, and they are expandable. You can make them larger and different things like that, just like you would just about anything on a phone. So anyway, just wanted to show everybody it's good stuff. So make sure that you download that. Okay, Lisa, I'm going to hold you to it. She said she's going to sign up after the seminar. I'm going to give you a call after this seminar, and I expect that thing to be downloaded. Very good. Okay. Well, sounds good. And also, last but not least, I believe, of course, our website. Of course, most of us have websites, but we do have a lot of good information on our website. Everything that we mentioned that's on the app is also on the website, whether it be floor plans, emergency evacuation routes, emergency guidelines, training opportunities. You can sign up for training as well on our website. So check us out. And like I said, if anybody, if you ever need any assistance with anything in your department or with your organization, please let us know. We're happy to help, whether that be training or review or just you need some advice, give us a call. We're here to help, ready to do so.
Is the Inspire Park on your app yet?
Should be.
All right, I'll check it again.
It is. I saw it on there.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, listen, Shauna, don't try to make us look bad during this presentation.
I just had the question in a private chat. I'm just making sure it's there. Didn't want to throw anybody under the bus.
Sounds good. Okay, anybody have any questions? Anything, Julie, before we move on to the next person?
We did have a question regarding the Teams transition, Microsoft Teams transition, and the phones on campus, the emergency phones. So that might be something that Officer Causey can speak to, but just wanted to throw that out there.
But the emergency phones are all analog phones, so they're not impacted by the Teams transition.
Great. That's good news.
So we do have a number of emergency phones throughout campus, whether it be in the ELC, the police department, other areas that have been deemed, you know, critical that they remain analog and not transition over to VoIP and to Teams. And so the emergency phones on campus, like I said, they're all analog, so they weren't impacted.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Scotty. And then I think it is time for Justin to take over. If Justin is still on here. Yes, there he is. I gave you control, so you should be good to go, Justin.
Okay, I'm good to go. Thanks, everybody. Scotty, that was great. Some great resources, tips, where to gain and access information. I'm going to kind of continue with that trend as well. And I think now we'll kind of move into more kind of crisis or disaster or more emergency specific information. If y'all see me kind of looking up out of screen a little bit, I'm on weather duty today. So I'm constantly kind of looking up, making sure I'm checking the radar and checking our National Weather Service chat that we have access to. So it's not that I'm distracted, but yeah, I'm a little bit distracted. We might have some weather moving through our region late this afternoon into the evening time. So stay weather aware, if you're out there in our area. So disasters of all kinds can happen anytime, anywhere. Of course, we've got great resources to kind of give you a heads up and kind of clue you into some tips and some recommendations on some resources that can keep you safe, keep you aware of emergencies that could impact us. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. Let's see if I can figure out how to get through these slides. And there we go. So learn how to respond. So our office, Emergency Management, Safety Services, again, we've got several tiers within our area. Not only do we have kind of the planning and the mitigation and the preparedness side that we also maintain, we also maintain too a fire and life safety aspect within our area too. So preparedness, continuity, business continuity planning, fire and life safety, all of that kind of safety, kind of minded aspects to our operations will fall underneath our emergency management and safety services. So we've got guidelines to kind of give you some tools and resources to better prepare yourself for any emergency that may impact you, not only on a professional level while you're on campus or out and about on work-related functions, but also on a personal preparedness level as well. We really pride ourselves on making sure that you're safe at home and your family is safe, so that you can better be prepared to get back to work in a timely manner after a crisis might affect you on that level. So Julie put some good tips and resources there in the chat with clickable links there, which is good. So you can request training from us at the building level, on a personal level as well. We've got Bridge, a series of trainings that Julie has put together that are really good and in depth and really focused to get you kind of in that mindset of preparedness and response oriented activities. So again, we can do in person, we can do via Bridge, we can do a phone call via Zoom, however, whatever best fits your culture or your level of kind of readiness. We can fine tune any of our trainings to best suit your needs, your office's needs, your division's needs, whatever the case may be. We really pride ourselves on being there and open and available to our community, i.e. you all. So again, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. So there are some certain things that you'll do in almost every single, emergency or crisis that could impact you. One of those things is going to be to evacuate, right? So these can be called for different types of events, including gas leaks, fires, a bomb threat, anything that can involve you getting out of the area is going to be the evacuation. Fire alarms are obviously going to be the most common reason for evacuations. I know we've already had a couple of fire alarms this semester. Luckily, not any kind of real emergency, but really, whenever you do hear a fire alarm, don't question it. Just go ahead and just get out of the area and get to your safe area, your evacuation area, which is also linked through our emergency floor plan maps within our app, as well as within our website, emergency.unt.edu as well. So evacuation, again, what does that mean? Quickly leave the building that you're in or the area that you're in, take the closest and the safest way out. Go to your designated evacuation assembly area. I alluded to that just a second ago. Again, those can be found on our website through those building specific emergency floor plan maps. But if there's a better place for your office, for your area, or even at your personal home that makes more sense for you to gather to once you actually leave the premises, then by all means, please just make sure that that's identified within your area. And head to that way. Stay out of the way of first responders. Don't cross super busy streets. Of course, fire alarm goes off. Most likely there's going to be a fire truck in tow with an ambulance, most likely as well. And they're going to be coming along major arterial routes coming in through the campus. So just keep that in mind if you're having to cross a busy street like Avenue C or Chestnut or North Texas Boulevard. Just know that those are still going to be utilized by traffic as well as first responders too. So prevent fires, ensure no open flames are in the building. Promote a no smoking policy, which we have on campus already. Remove combustible clutter that might be in offices and walkways or hallways. Just keep that safety, minded aspect about you as you go through and about your day, right? If something looks out of place or doesn't look like it belongs there, most likely it probably does not belong there. Take that up with our office. You can call our extension at 6153. You can reach us at 2109 as well on campus. That's our risk management services number. We'll have all that contact information within these slides as well. So recognize if you see flames, you hear the alarm, right? Always treat every alarm as a real life fire, a real fire event possibly. Immediately evacuate in the event of a fire or fire alarm. Don't question it. Don't hem or haw. Should I exit this time? I know they've been working on the alarms, this week. We've gotten several false alarms already. Treat every alarm as it's a real event, right? Go ahead, start gathering your things as quickly as possible, get out and start telling people on your way out as well. If you see people not reacting to the alarm, go ahead and start instructing them as well that that we need to get out of here as quickly as possible. Always take alarms seriously. Again, I think we've said that maybe 4 times already within the past 4 slides. Be sure when evacuating, you don't investigate the fire. You do not return to gather your belongings, but if your purse or your bag is right there next to you, grab it. Do not open windows or leave doors open. Leaving windows and doors open can actually provide source for fire to get larger in that form of oxygen, fueling the fire as well. So true or false, during a fire, you can use the elevator to evacuate the building. Julie, go ahead and put out that test question for everybody.
All right, launching the poll. Take a moment now to tell us true or false. All right, everyone's doing really good. Some great participation here. Give you just a couple more seconds. Almost everyone has answered already. All right, so I will go ahead and stop the polling now. All right, and the answer is correct. The answer is false. All right.
Perfect. Good job, everybody. Looks like we had a couple of people put in there true. However, that is not the case. Please do not use elevators in the event of a fire evacuation, right? There are several reasons for this. I'm going to be pretty short-winded with this, but a fire could cause problems to electrical systems, stalling the elevators. Even in some newer buildings, there might even be a mechanism in place where elevators will be recalled to the first floor once that alarm panel system is actually activated, right? So you might not even be able to use an elevator. So just keep those things in mind. To deal with this situation in some of the taller buildings, multiple floor buildings that we have here on this campus, we have what we have deemed fire refuge areas within campus, our campus buildings. And again, we have these fire refuge areas notated in our building emergency floor plan maps that you all have access to as community members, either through the app on your phone and or through the website, emergency.unt.edu. Most likely these are going to be in, fire rated areas such as stairwells within buildings. And then also you can alert first responders If you notice there might be somebody who might be in a wheelchair or have access or functional needs, located on the second floor of Chestnut Hall, or third floor of Chestnut Hall, make sure and let those first responders know when they do show up, hey, Susie's on the second floor in this stairwell. She's going to need some assistance getting out. So just know that. Okay, shelter can be called for different types of events, like a hazardous materials release or severe weather. Severe weather is usually going to be the most common reason that you're going to be seeking shelter here in our North Texas area. If you are called to seek shelter, go indoors immediately, right? You hear those outdoor warning sirens. That means you need to go inside, seek shelter, and seek further information, right? Seeking shelter means go to your nearest shelter area location, again, notated on our emergency floor plan maps, lowest level of the building that you can get into, away from windows and exterior walls. Don't leave your shelter area until the warning has expired. If it's a significant weather warning, like a tornado warning, for instance, that's going to call you to that shelter area. If a hazmat is related, you need to attempt to keep all external air out of that general area as well. And again, we've got those. More information can be found on that within our app as well as within our website, underneath those kind of more general or specific hazard information areas. So when can severe weather happen? Right? Is there a certain time of year that it can happen? Is it in January? Is it usually in March? Right. Well, in reality, anytime severe weather can occur, especially here in North Central Texas. For instance, in 2015, the day after Christmas, y'all may remember this, the city of Rowlett and Garland were actually struck by a tornado that killed multiple people that were actually traveling on one of those major highways that ran through that area. So stay weather aware all the time. Again, it's our job to alert you all as our campus community of any kind of possible severe weather that may impact us. So again, we are charged with that. Again, you can probably see it in my background, but we're currently monitoring again the possible severe weather that may impact our region and our area today and through this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that off to Julie now. It's her turn to present. Thank you all very much for being here. We really appreciate the time that you give us to promote this message.
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin and Scotty. Yeah, all the information so far has been great. It's now my turn to talk about severe weather, which is my favorite topic to talk about. Right now, I want to just ask you, though, does anyone here know the difference between a watch and a warning? Feel free to drop your answers in the chat. I am going to give it away pretty quickly here. All right, so a watch means that conditions are favorable for hazardous weather to form. It applies to a very large area. So if you were to look at a map that shows the difference between a watch and a warning, you'd see a watch covers a very large geographic area, whereas a warning is much smaller. Whenever there is a watch, you just continue with your routine operations, but be weather aware, as a warning is a possibility, whereas a warning means take action now. This is really happening, and that means that the hazardous weather has been spotted or has been indicated by radar. So just remember that watches and warnings don't just apply to tornadoes. There's also severe thunderstorm watches and warnings, as well as flash flood watches and warnings. But just know that a watch means favorable conditions. That warning, on the other hand, means take action. The hazard is happening right now. So I'm going to jump into talking a little bit more about severe weather, how to prepare, and I'm also going to briefly skim over the hazards. I know we have a lot of people on here who actually attended our severe weather seminar, which was just earlier in March. And so I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, just in the interest of time. But if anybody wants to know more about the weather, if you want to dive a little deeper into what we covered today, do not hesitate to reach out to us. This is something we're very passionate about, and it's a big risk in North Texas, so it's certainly important. So some of the ways you need to prepare for severe weather now, and again, severe weather can happen anytime, but now is really the perfect time to prepare, especially considering the time of year that we are in right now. First, you want to make sure you know all of your shelter-in-place locations, have multiple means of receiving alerts. So all of those different programs that Scotty talked about, make sure you're signed up for those now. Also, be weather aware. What does that mean? That means check the weather, check social media often, keep an eye on what's going on outside, and take it seriously. Definitely don't diminish any threats that may exist or may be in the forecast. Also, just take the time to inform those around you of possible severe weather, like we did today, just letting you know there's a chance for severe weather this afternoon. Now you know, and hopefully now you'll take steps to be prepared for that. I want to quickly cover the tornado timeline. This is something that's changed in the last couple of years. So I just want to make sure everyone's up to date on how Eagle alerts work whenever there's a tornado warning. Whenever a tornado warning is issued, we send an Eagle alert immediately whenever there's a tornado warning impacting our campuses. So we send them both for Frisco as well as for Denton. And then if the alert looks like it's going to last, much longer than 10 minutes, maybe we're looking at 30 or 40 minutes, we will send a second Eagle alert at 10 minutes elapsed to let you know that the tornado warning is still happening. There's a lot of research out there that says after about 10 minutes, people start to lose interest and start leaving their shelters. So to combat that, we have added a second Eagle alert as a reminder. And then finally, we do send an Eagle alert when the warning has ended to let you know it's safe to go out. So what should you do when you get that Eagle alert? Stop what you're doing immediately. Direct everyone in your area. Just tell yourself, your coworkers, other students around you to get up and move to your nearest designated shelter space, which you can find on the app and our floor plans, and then stay in that shelter until you get that Eagle alert, letting you know you're good to come back out. If you're ever unsure where to go in a tornado, maybe you can't make it to a shelter, maybe you're at home and you haven't really thought through, what is my safest place? Ultimately, shelters just need to be on the lowest level of the building if below ground isn't possible. Put as many walls between you and the outside as you can, and then stay away from windows. So also, I like to show this photo here of a tornado that happened back in April of 2019. This tornado actually touched down at Texas Women's University. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Denton Square area. This is actually Dan's Silverleaf here. We got Mellow Mushroom as well as Fuzzy Tacos here, and that's where that tornado touched down. So very real risk. It does happen in North Texas. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that this year, but you never know. For a non-tornadic severe weather, this is the type of events that can be just as dangerous, just as deadly, but we don't necessarily send Eagle alerts for these things. We want you to know what to do for those. So whenever just remember some of these cheesy sayings that kind of help you remember what you're supposed to do. When thunder roars, go indoors. Like I said, I know that sounds super silly, super cheesy, but honestly, if you can hear thunder, lightning is close enough to strike. So it's very, very important to take that very seriously and get indoors. Also stay away from windows. Oftentimes severe thunderstorms, which may not be quite as dangerous as a tornado objectively, at least not the same kinds of winds and rotation, they can still contain very large hail, which can break windows and be very damaging. So stay away from those windows. Go ahead and locate your shelter locations, even when it's not a tornado outside, because you never know when the storm may intensify and then end up producing a tornado. And go ahead and inform those around you of the threat. Once again, let people know, hey, I know it looks like it's just raining outside, but this storm is supposed to contain hail. Let people know that they need to stay where they are. Real quickly, I just want to give you guys a glimpse into what makes a severe thunderstorm severe. So you've probably heard, there's showers, storms, thunderstorms, and then you have severe thunderstorms. And what makes them severe specifically is one or both of these characteristics. Either the storm contains winds of at least 58 miles per hour, or it contains hail of 1 inch diameter or larger. So if a storm contains one or both of those characteristics, that's when it becomes severe. So it's really important to make sure you're signed up for CodeRED or whatever other systems that you want to use so that you can get those severe thunderstorm notifications. Wind can be just straight line winds here in North Texas. We do get those pretty frequently, unfortunately. They can be incredibly dangerous and possibly even as dangerous as a tornado. Winds can produce downed trees and power lines, flying debris, building collapse, power outages, lots and lots of damage. This is actually a picture of the UNT campus over by West Hall. There was some straight line winds there that took off a portion of the roof and caused some flooding in some of the rooms. This is back in 2014. And so just some photos to demonstrate that this can happen, and it does impact our community. Hail as well is another huge threat here. This actually was part of that same storm system that caused that damage at West Hall. There was a huge, baseball size hail that broke out windows. This is over on University Drive near that Kroger. Hail can cause a lot of problems, and that's actually the biggest risk today with the possible storms this afternoon is hail. So not something to be taken lightly. And then lightning. Lightning accompanies any and all storms. So if you hear the word storm, whether it's severe or not, you should go ahead and assume it contains lightning. And just remember that no place outside is safe from lightning. Anytime that there's any lightning, get indoors and avoid going outside until 30 minutes after the last time you heard thunder. Flash flooding is actually the most fatal type of weather hazard in the nation. So it's definitely something to be taken seriously. It only takes a couple inches of water to sweep a person off their feet. It only takes about 6 inches to 1 foot of water to stall vehicles and cause them to lose control. It only takes about a couple of feet of water to carry away even large trucks. So definitely want to take flash flooding seriously. And unfortunately, that does happen here in North Texas, especially with all of the concrete and pavement we have in the area. So if we are under a flash flood warning, be mindful of that and make sure, this is another cheesy saying, but really important, turn around, don't drown. If you approach either by walking or driving, if you approach an area that is covered in water, do not try to walk through that water. There's a reason that this is the most dangerous hazard, and it's because of people trying to walk through those flooded areas. Okay, winter weather. We are all a little bit more familiar now with winter weather than I think any of us have been before. Thankfully, it doesn't happen often, but unfortunately, when it does happen, it has some pretty major impacts. So snow, sleet, freezing rain, extreme cold, all of those things are bundled together into what we call winter weather. So go ahead and share if you've got any fun winter weather stories. Feel free to drop those in the chat so we can read those. I know all of us have our own crazy winter stories. That was certainly a crazy time here in North Texas. But just what you need to know looking forward to the future to prepare for these types of events. When winter weather happens, stay off the roads as much as possible. It's certainly not a safe place to be. If you work here on campus, if there's winter weather in the forecast, coordinate with your team to discuss procedures. How are we going to continue operations during this winter event? Make sure that you're protecting the 4 Ps: people, plants, pipes, and pets. So those are really the 4 things you need to take the time to make sure that they are protected from the cold. And just know that we will issue an Eagle Alert if campus is closed, and that's for all events ever. If campus is ever closed, if there's a delayed opening, you will definitely get an Eagle Alert. So just keep that in mind. And so something else too, I forgot to add it to this slide, but now's a great time to go ahead and build your emergency kit, preparing for any future winter weather. It's important to have those supplies. So think back on your experiences and what items do you wish that you had. Go ahead and stock those up now. It's great to be prepared for it. So to close out our section, just to give kind of to bring it more back to these smaller types of emergencies that can happen, I want to quickly just cover our advice for medical emergencies. The best way that you can prepare for a medical emergency, unfortunately, this is probably one of the more frequent types of emergencies that happens on campus. What you need to do to prepare is learn the locations of your AED machines, also learn how to use them. Find out if you have stop the bleed kits in your building and learn how to use those too. Finally, know where your first aid kits are and how to use the items in there. And to tie into all of that, it's important that you have that training and that knowledge on how to utilize those tools. Attend training. That's the best advice we can give. And if you don't know where to get training on these things, please reach out to me or reach out to any one of our team. We can loop you into resources. We have numerous online trainings, and slowly and surely, as we look towards the future, we will be doing more hands-on in-person training. So we're happy to work with you to make sure you know how to operate this equipment. So you'll know if a medical emergency is happening if you find someone who's unconscious, in extreme pain, bleeding profusely, unable to move, unresponsive. There's obviously a lot of other symptoms too that would constitute a medical emergency that aren't mentioned here. Just know if you're ever in doubt, go ahead and treat it like it's a medical emergency. So how do you respond to these events? First and foremost, call 911, check to make sure that you are safe to provide aid. Get an AED. It's always best practice to go ahead and get the AED or send someone else to get the AED just to be safe. Ask the person if you can assist them. If they are conscious, if they are unconscious, you have a implied consent to help. Send someone to meet first responders at the door and then assist your first responders as needed. All right, so that closes up our section of the presentation. Thank you all so much. I'm going to hand off control here to Officer David Causey, and he will take you through the UNT Police section. So thank you all again.
Caught myself again. Hello again, I'm Officer David Causey, the Community Relations Officer for UNT PD. So we're going to talk today about several different areas, and we're going to start with some disruptive persons. So really, when we talk about it, faculty, staff, we talk about students, what is the disruption? Is it something that is just like maybe that they're not paying attention, or that they're making comments as far as that are just disturbing to the class, but not necessarily threatening? Is it something that is threatening? So if it's something that's threatening, please make sure that you call the police department. Or is it something that you need help with, maybe through the dean of students, depending on what the disruption is? So just really kind of narrow that disruption. Make the expectations of the students clear from the beginning, what you expect from them. If you expect them to log on to a class at a specific time, if you expect them to do whatever it is, make sure you set those expectations from the beginning so they know what is expected of them. Again, contact the dean of students if you need some direction dealing with the student. But if at any time that you feel like their behavior is threatening more than just disruptive, please make sure that you call us. So we have a lot of training, and it's all completely free. I know that we're kind of starting to open up some of the in-person, so I'm more than willing to do that, whether it's online, in person. If you need me to do both, I know there's some that they said, hey, can you do some online and some in person, just so everybody can be a part of it? I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to go and do some recordings as well. So you can see a full list of our training classes at police.unt.edu, and then if you just go to the safety tab, there'll be a full list there. If there's something that you're interested in that you don't see here, please reach out to me, and I'll work on developing a program for you, and I will present that for you as well. So again, this is one of my favorite things. That's one of the things about COVID that seems like it's really hit me as far as work that's bothered me the most, is that I don't have the ability to get out and present to the community face to face. So we are doing a self-defense class online. We sent that out, and I can send a flyer to that probably after I get through talking. I'll pull that link up. But we're going to do a very brief one online, just because we can't cover near as much, obviously, but just kind of give you guys some tips. It's going to be on the 19th, but I'll send a flyer out for that as soon as we get done here. And so when we talk about being safe, one of the biggest things that we say is to trust your instincts. If you think that somebody is following you, or if you feel unsafe in a situation, don't rationalize it. It's very easy to say, oh, well, they're not following me, they're just going the same route I am, or this person isn't doing this. It's super easy to rationalize it, because we don't want to put ourselves in the position that we think that we're going to be in danger. We want to just kind of rationalize our way out of it. Don't do that. If you feel like you're being followed, change your direction. Start looking for those places that are open 24/7 or open later hours where the public is. A lot of times what I say is to try to put yourself, even like if you're talking about like home lighting and home protection, if you're talking about just in general, like your car and all that stuff, is put yourself in the mind of like a bad guy. So if I'm a bad guy and I'm wanting to cause harm to somebody, I don't want to do it in a public setting where there's a bunch of people that can either intervene or call 911 or give a good description of me. I want to do it in a place that's poorly lit. I want to do it with a person that's not paying attention to their surroundings, things like that. So those are things to kind of put yourself in the mindset of to help you out. When we talk about being aware of your surroundings, I know people just hear that and they're like, okay, be aware of your surroundings. I get it, whatever. But the reason, again, that we talk about that is, again, if you think about you're the bad guy, when you've got two different people, right? You've got somebody that's walking, that's paying attention, that's looking around, kind of knows what's going on around them. And then you've got somebody that's either got their headphones on or they're looking at their phone or both and are, have no idea what's going on around them. If you think, who can I take advantage of and have the most likely chance of getting away with it, right? You're going to go after the person that's not paying attention to what's going on, because that's the biggest chance for you to be able to say, attack that person, get their phone, their belongings, whatever you're trying to do, and get away. And that person will probably not even realize what happened until it's too late. They won't be able to give you a good description. They're not going to be able to call out for help. So it's going to make it more difficult. So that's why we talk about paying attention to your surroundings. Make sure that you make eye contact with those people in close proximity to you. And when I say that, I'm not saying that you have to stare people down. Like if I see Justin walking around, the campus, I'm not going to stare him down. But you're not going to make eye contact. If he looks right, if we make eye contact, like, hey, how's it going? Or how you doing today? So all that really is showing us, I see you. I know that you're there. I can give a good description of you. But again, it doesn't have to be like a confrontational stare down, right? You can just kind of make eye contact. When we always talk about it, people think it's that negative side, right? And I do it a lot in my personal life, is when I'm walking around, I make eye contact with people. And if somebody, makes eye contact, they kind of like, get that weird where they lock eyes with you. Say, hey, how's it going today? How you doing? So it's always a chance to be, friendly, but again, you're showing that you're paying attention and you know what's going on. Avoid secluded places, walk in groups if possible, and then discuss safety plans with others. So when we talk about discussing that safety plan with others, it can't be just like a one-time thing, right? It's got to be something that you talk about consistently, because it's just like, if you're talking about a severe, emergency or an emergency situation or something like that, is that if you only talk about which, your meetup location one time, likely in the event that you need it, there's going to be so much of an adrenaline dump that you're not going to remember where you're supposed to go or remember what that plan was. So you've got to go back, you've got to talk about it often, you've got to kind of plan for it. So in case that event does happen, your just mind automatically reverts back to it. So, and that's also when we talk about with our creating our safety plan at home. And as always, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at UNT Police. There's a lot of really, really high level stuff on there. I say that because Julie helps create the stuff. Always remember that no property is worth your life. Stuff is just stuff. I know that you've got a really not new phone, a new laptop, new whatever, but just remember, stuff is just stuff and can be replaced. Nothing's worth your life. Always try to wear clothing that helps you to be able to move if you need to. Limit the amount of cash and credit cards you carry. I definitely always say the cash. Big thing is people will ask me, how much cash should I carry? And it really comes back to is how much are you willing to lose? Because you got to think, if you've got say $40 in your pocket and you lose it, there's nobody's going to replace that, right? If you lose your debit card, you can call your bank and they'll cancel that card and send you a new one, and you're not going to be held liable for any funds that somebody spends on it. Reason that we talk about limiting the cards that you carry is because if I've got 15 different cards in my wallet and I lose my wallet, and am I going to be able to remember every one of those 15 cards to make sure that I call those companies and get those cards canceled? So I have a lot of different cards. I have the Lowe's and the Home Depot, so I can get the 0% financing whenever I have another honeydew project, right? But I keep that stuff at home in a drawer, and I don't really access it unless I need to. So I'll go pull it out, go over there, use it, and then put it back up. So in my wallet, I carry my debit card, and I carry my Discover card, and that's the only cards I carry. So if something happens, I know who I need to contact. Carry your ID with you. That's a good thing, because it could even be that if you're having a medical emergency, we'll know who you are. There's been times that I know back when I was on patrol that there would be somebody that would, have like a medical emergency, maybe be unconscious, and we would look for their wallet to try to figure out, identify that person to see if we had maybe some emergency contact information for them. So it's good to carry your ID with you, but not your social. And then avoid using the ATM alone at night. Make sure you're bringing somebody with you and using well-lit areas. Always lock your dorm apartment house. Always never leave it open at any time. Always make sure that even if you're stepping out just to do laundry, go grab something out of the car, make sure you're locking that door behind you. I know that it takes a little bit more time to access your property then, or access back to your room, but you don't want to have the time where somebody could either go in and steal something from you in that brief moment, or stay in that room till you get back. Always use the peephole and ask for ID, or just don't answer. And this is another story that I tell that really kind of made an impact on me. I think it was over the summer. I was at home one day, and like the way our house is set, our front door is right beside our living area. So I was sitting on the couch, my kids were in there. Somebody knocks on the door, and I walked over there and I looked, and it was somebody I had no idea who it was. It was some salesman or something. So I went and sat back down, started watching TV again, and my kids, they're like 9 and 11. So they were saying, hey, Dad, you going to answer the door? And I was like, no. And they're like, well, they know we're here. And I said, well, that's good. That will keep them from trying to like break into the house, right? And they're like, but they know we're here. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if they know that I'm here. The thing is whoever's there at that door at the time was not something I was interested in, right? They're probably selling something, and it's probably not that great of a deal. Or it's somebody that's trying to harm us. And again, why would I access and give them the opportunity to come in? Even just a lot of people will like, they'll unlock the door, open the door, and crack it just a little bit to maybe try to make contact and see what the person needs. Even doing that is allowing somebody, you're letting down that barrier, is going to allow somebody easier access into your home. So don't do that. Limit who you allow into your home or vehicle. Even if it's somebody that you know, it's always a great thing to just have somebody meet you at a public area, maybe at a coffee shop. If you're in the dorms, it's in the library, or in the lobby, just a public area. Don't allow people that you don't completely know and completely trust into your home. Secure your valuables out of sight. Keep an eye on that personal property. Don't just leave stuff out. Theft is one of the top crimes that we have on campus. Make sure you're keeping stuff locked up. Don't expect somebody else to watch your stuff for you. And then when you lock your bike, make sure you lock it to a bike rack. Make sure you use a good lock. We just got a nice pallet of U-locks in. So come by the PD anytime, 24/7. We'll engrave it, your bike, and give you a free U-lock. Thanks, Mo. And then we need refunds. We got a brand new pallet of them ready to go. Make sure that you have your phone with you, and make sure that it is charged. Use that phone as a lifeline. Don't use it as something that can distract you. Again, make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on around you. Don't get totally immersed in it. Don't text and drive. Don't walk and text. I know that a lot of our students and staff and faculty feel like you've had a phone for multiple years now, and you feel like you've got it mastered and that you can do all kinds of things and text, and search the web and things. Make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on around you, though, and be careful to what you share on social media. Night Rides. Now, this is a service that is offered through our partners over at Transportation Services. So make sure that you follow up with them on this. But this is another great way to get around campus at night to make sure that you feel safe. So they have a shuttle service that works 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. or 7 a.m. Is the lift service. Now, that is only when class is in session, so it usually ends right around the times that the dorms close. So make sure that you follow up and check with them if that's something that you're interested in. These are the emergency phones that we talked about earlier. Again, they're saying those should not be affected. So what it is basically just a speakerphone. So you push the red button. Once you do, it automatically sends a signal, and it's answered by one of our 911 dispatchers. At that same time, it's telling them which phone was activated. This blue light will start strobing, and that we automatically send an officer to that phone, whether somebody speaks into it or not. So again, once you hit it, it automatically sends like a signal to tell them which phone is activated. They'll send an officer, and you can just talk directly into that call box. And those phones, even though they're outside, so they look a little bit weathered and they have some stickers on them, they are checked every single month. One of our guys, his name's James, goes around and pushes the button. And always, I think of if anybody here remembers the Verizon wireless guy. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Whenever I talk about it, I think about James walking and hitting those buttons. Can you hear me now? That's probably exactly what he does. So again, make sure you use those if you need them. But also at the same time, I would rather, if somebody's chasing you, I would rather you find a well-lit public place instead of one of these. but they are still here if you need them. So self-defense, people always talk about self-defense and like, hey, what do you suggest? You're a cop, what can I bring up to campus? And people always get really bummed out when I tell them a flashlight, and they're like, man, that's not very much fun. And I'll tell you why. So during the time that I was on patrol, I was involved in several different incidences with pepper spray, and never once was I the intended recipient of the pepper spray, but also never once did I not get at least some of that pepper spray on me. And I'm not sure if anyone here has been pepper sprayed. It's probably something you don't want to admit to, but every little bit of that stuff, every little bit of that stuff burns. And I mean, bad. I'll tell you, when I went to the academy, that was the one time that I was the intended recipient. I washed my eyes. I really thought I was going to drown trying to get that washed off me. I got home that night, got back in the shower, and I looked down at my stomach, and there were little red dots popping up on my stomach where the water reactivated it. Ooh, really spicy Thai food. Did you get the Thai hot at Thai Square? It's awesome stuff. It doesn't count. Sorry. Off that. The last thing that I would really want is for you to be within feet of somebody, right, that's trying to harm you. You spray them with pepper spray, and either a wind shift or you get blowback and you get it on you. And again, with pepper spray, you can't see, your eyes are closed. There's like, I know it sounds really nasty, but like mucus, snot, everything's just going, and you can't open your eyes, you can't breathe. And here you are still feet within somebody that was just trying to hurt you. Same with the taser stun gun. Most people, when they talk about tasers as for the civilian use, what they're really talking about is stun guns. So a stun gun, if you can see here, it's got these 2 points. Those 2 points cause like a shock. So you don't get the full body convulsions that you get with the taser, the neuromuscular incapacitation. I think I would remember that. You get just a pain compliance. So it's only going to do anything if it's actually touching them. So what if they take that from you, right? So now you want to know how a flashlight is going to help you out, right? If none of the other good stuff does. So a flashlight, again, comes back to knowing your surroundings and paying attention. You can shine, if you see someone and you shine a flashlight at them, like, hey, how's it going? You doing all right over there? Is everything okay? Do I need to call it? Do you need me to call 911? Is everything okay? So again, when you're pointing at them, it's just that I know that you're there. So if you try to harm me, I can either scream for help, I can call 911, or at the very minimum, I'll be able to have a good description of you. Hopefully before long, we'll be able to get our full self-defense classes going back, but we are doing a abbreviated one online. We had so many requests for it. So run, hide, fight. These are 3 different activities, responses, that's a better word for it, to active shooter. Remember, just because we talk about run, hide, fight does not mean that it goes in that order. It depends on where you're at in the situation and what you need to do. So first we talk about the run. You got to think about when an active shooter is coming in, what they're looking to do is they're looking to cause the most amount of carnage in the shortest amount of time because they know that their time is limited. So they're not after a specific person because they wronged them. They're after what they have is a perceived grievance against either a person, like a group of people, an institution, something like that. They have that perceived grievance against them. So they're not after a specific person. So they're looking whoever is in the path of their carnage. Again, if you're not there, then you can't be in that path. So evacuate. If you can get out of the area safely, do that first. Always look for those secondary exits. Don't use the primary exits. Again, think about if you were the bad guy and you're wanting to cause as much carnage as possible, you're not going to be you're going to be looking to the main doors. That's where people are coming in and going out. So you, as looking to get out, look for those secondary exits, looking for the exits to the back, maybe the emergency exits, maybe the shipping docks, windows, things like that most people aren't thinking about when they're looking to escape. Avoid running blindly into the unknown. We're not saying slow way down and do the slicing the pie. We're just saying when you come up to a blind corner, don't just run out into it. Kind of slow down, look around it, make sure it's safe before you proceed. So a run may not always be an option. So at the PD, so my office is here. There's just a narrow hallway with offices on either side. If that shooter is right outside in this type of situation, a run is not going to be beneficial. If I run, I'm going to be a target of opportunity. So what I've got to do is go into a hide. So I'm going to grab desk, file cabinets, chairs, and try to lock the door if possible. Remember, your only goal right then, what you're trying to do is to delay or deny access of the shooter into your area. So block it, get back, get low, get out of the way, pull your phone out, start texting 911. Remember, in Denton County, you can text 911. Shut off the lights if possible, stay out of the shooter's view. Try to remain calm as possible. Stay quiet. Even with your cell phone, even if it's in vibrate mode, you gotta remember it's going to be like no noise. So even the vibration will pick up, but make sure that you can be on and still be texting. But again, you're not trying to make your barricade look pretty. You're just trying to delay or deny that access to you. So then we talk about the fight. A big thing of the fight is that's that last resort, right? Again, if I'm in my office and the shooter's out here in the hallway and I can't run, then I'm going to try to hide. I'm not going to take that fight to him, right? Because he's out in the hallway. It's if maybe I'm starting to barricade the door and I don't have enough stuff, or it's just too early in the process and the shooter starts making his way into the office or where I'm at, or maybe I'm there when the shooting starts happening. You've got to be in the mindset of, I've got to win this. You can't say, hey, I'm going to do my best and hopefully it works out. You've got to go into the mindset that I'm going to go home tonight. Look for different things to take action, right? So you most likely won't have a weapon, but pens, staplers, keyboards, anything that you can use to fashion as a weapon. Maybe have other people that don't think they have the ability to be aggressive with it. Have them, throw stuff at them, be that distraction team till you can get your stuff and go for the attack. Remember to fight only if imminent danger. And again, this isn't a run, hide, fight process. These are 3 different options, and you may jump in between those different ones depending on the situation that you're in. If you're outdoor, you want to try to determine where the shots are coming from, and again, get out of that area. Do not delay. Consider your cover versus your concealment. So your cover is actually going to offer you protection from bullets, such as trees, buildings, things of that nature. Concealment is just going to hide you, but not actually offer any real cover. So bushes or like most interior walls are going to be more of a concealment because it's just drywall. True or false? You should always run first, hide second, and fight third. You have to do it in that order.
Okay. I had a poll. See if I can.
I was like, am I supposed to do something?
Yeah, people can probably just answer in the chat faster than I can get the poll pulled up. I don't know what I did, but
no worries. All right.
Well, it looks like we've got a pretty good mix of things in here, true and false. So tell us what the answer is.
So
Ozzy.
It is false. It is false. So what you want to do is you don't have to do it in that order. It really depends on what situation you're in, whether you need to go out and run if you can. You may not be able to run, so you may have to go straight into a hide or the fight, or it may happen right in front of you. You have to immediately go into a fight. So whenever you're talking about police response, make sure that you give us the specifics, location. If you just tell us, if you think about your address, and you tell us that you live at 100 Smith Street, you show up, there's a front door, back door, right? Campus is not like that at all. Think about like the Union. If you tell me you're at the Union and you're trying to get help for either somebody that's having a medical emergency or for somebody that's causing a disruption, the Union is a really big building. Do you want me to come in and just wander through the Union until I can find you? No, you want to give me a good location, even if you can just narrow it down to the floor. But really, we even need a room number if you can, because that's the thing is that those rooms, once you get in, like even the 4th floor, you go in, it just keeps going. So get us there as quickly as possible. Whenever you're describing someone, use a top-down approach. We usually say start with race and gender, and then top down. And do that a few times whenever you see people through the day, just so again, it puts it in your mind as to how you want to describe them. Vehicle, same thing. If you can give us a license plate, that's great because they'll give us the registered owner. But I will tell you, probably 9 out of 10 times, when people give us license plates, they either leave a number or a character off, or they invert something because it almost never returns. If you are a witness to a crime, avoid talking to other witnesses because you don't want to get your story confused with their story and kind of mixed up, right? So make sure that you don't talk to each other. Remember, you can call or text 911 in Denton County. We always do recommend you to call because you can get a faster response. 565-3000 is our non-emergency line. It's also available 24/7. Police.unt.edu to look at the 60-day crime log, see some of our safety programs. Come to our office. The lobby's 24/7 as well. Get your bike engraved, get rid of any old medicines, and you can call 369-8477. It's an anonymous tip line. Not too far. Thank you all.
All right, then now it's time to hand it over to Mo. Let me get this over to you. Mo, you should have control of my screen.
That is dangerous. Hi, everybody. They saved the best for last. So I am Dr. Mo, Dean of Students. And a number of the things that we do in the Dean of Students office is work with students that are struggling, no matter what the issue is outside the classroom, and sometimes even inside the classroom. Work very closely with emergency management and the UNT Police Department on a daily basis to make sure that we are keeping the community safe, whether it's from an emergency in regards to weather, or whether it's an emergency regards to crime or something else going on. So this group talks often and is always definitely bringing up concerns or issues that we might need to address as an institution. I'm struggling myself, Scotty. Kind of talk a little bit about care team, and I want to make sure that we make it very clear here that the care team is help for UNT community members who are struggling, and that also includes faculty and staff. Especially with the pandemic, we know that a number of concerns for all our community members, that the mental health has been affected or has been impacted by this pandemic, and working from home in particular so much. So if you're one of those people that's worked from home a lot and you're struggling, I highly encourage you to come to the office if you're able. It really makes a difference, and really want to make sure that you have that ability. But you also have the ability to file a care team concern about a colleague or a student that, if you are concerned that they might be a threat to themselves or others, what I do not ask you to do is don't go and investigate it for us, just get it to us. We have a care team that meets weekly. And the members of that we have a member from the police department, counseling and testing, myself, the provost office, housing, and then the conduct side of my office. And we look at and human resources. And we look at issues every week in regards to students, faculty, or staff that may cause us some concern, and how we can best help them. When the care team started back in 2009, it was an end result of Virginia Tech and the shootings in 2007. And so we're not saying that everybody that is referred to the care team is going to act out like Cho did, but we are saying that most of the time we are seeing some signals when somebody is a threat to themselves or others that could have been prevented if something more drastic would happen. And we are a caring community, and we want to make sure that we take care of no matter who our community member is, in the best way that we can. My office, in the Dean of Students office, we have a number of people that call students in on a daily basis, or whether through Zoom or in person, should there be an issue where we need to probably jump on it rather quickly. When we created the care team in 2009, we had about 11 students referred that year, and last year we were well over 400. That doesn't mean there's 400 people that are a threat to the community, right? And I want to make sure that we're very clear about that. We do also count those individuals that the Equal Opportunity and Title IX office investigates for stalking, sexual violence, and domestic and dating violence on that list as well, because we need to look at it could be a threat to any one member of our community, and so those numbers are also on there. We are available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We are not first responders. I want to make sure that that is very clear. When Care Team first rolled out, I'll never forget it. We had done it where we rolled it out with a letter and a folder. You all get those every year from us. And somebody called the Care Team line to respond to somebody that had passed out. We do not take the place of the police or the or paramedics or any other emergency responders. They don't want to give me a car with lights on it. And so, you know, I could have a lot of fun with that. So want to make sure that, you know, we are the second call if you're going to call the police. It's also important to talk about the Care Team from the perspective, and I'm going to jump in and talk for the police for a minute. We have an officer, actually a detective, Sean Keene, who sits on that Care Team with us every week. Our office talks to him all the time. I think I've already talked to him 3 times today. When there's students of concern or faculty or staff of concern, and all he does is really help us with a number of these issues. So if a welfare check has to be done because we're concerned somebody might have harmed themselves because we can't find them and they've exhibited some signs of some mental health concerns or some threats, he is the first to help us. So know that the police are very much a part of this Care Team as well. And then the other thing too is don't go looking for texts and posts on social media. I have situations in the past where faculty jump very quickly, or staff, to the conclusion that somebody's going to come and shoot up the campus because they see somebody has guns on their Facebook or their Twitter or whatever. We live in a country and a state that are very much for guns rights, and I really worry about the concern that that creates for those you share that information with. It's okay to share it with us if you've heard that or seen that, but please don't go looking for things. Let us do our job in regards to investigating it and getting the police and other people involved as necessary. The other thing I want to make sure that we talk about is that with the Care Team, that don't be concerned, don't worry about, oh, they have too many referrals, or, oh, I'm making a big deal out of this. I think we've already talked about that a couple times, but sometimes the thing that you hear the least, or what you hear, might be the piece that we need to put the puzzle together. I can tell you a number of times where faculty or staff have made referrals to our office, and how much it was the last piece of the puzzle, and making sure that we had that information helped us make a decision rather quickly. We have the ability to call parents, and we do. If somebody tries to harm themselves in the residence halls, it's an automatic phone call to the parents. We need the parents to be engaging with us for the safety of their student. So that's a big thing. HR is involved anytime there's a faculty or staff member, and so on and so forth. So basically, I want to make sure that you know a Care Team is threat to self or others, and we'll talk about when somebody might have a car accident or something. That's a little bit different than Care Team. Okay, next one. Is that me? The Clery Act. Clery Act is a federal law that has taken over my life in regards to crime and safety on campuses. And that includes fire safety and emergency operations, emergency notification. Back in 1986, Jean Cleary was murdered in her residence hall room at Lehigh University after a visitor or a neighborhood person walked into the residence halls, kept trying all of their doors to see what would be unlocked for the crime of opportunity of burglary, and what he did was he found out that Jean Cleary's door was unlocked. She was sleeping in the bed. She left it unlocked for her roommate. And I remember being an undergrad and propping doors with bricks and pizza boxes and leaving your doors unlocked for your roommates as well. And what he did was raped and murdered her in her residence hall room. It was a crime of opportunity for him because it wasn't his intention to do that. Well, what her parents decided, they went on a large crusade after her murder, and in particular started in Pennsylvania, that it's important to notify the university community in which you live in which you work of a number of crimes and emergencies that they might need to react to. And so you'll see our crime statistics for the past 3 years in our annual security report every October, as well as a number of other things. That document's about 110 pages long. If you need to fall asleep at night and you're looking for something to help, you can read it. It's at cleary.unt.edu. But definitely a number of things that you want to make sure that you at least know, and know that it's a resource for you should you need some additional information in regards to campus safety procedures, UNT geography, things like that. Many of you may be what we call campus security authorities, and that you may need to report these crimes as well. In 2013, the Biden administration approved the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, which changed Clery, not Title IX, and it addresses dating violence, domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. And so there's a significant part of our annual security report that covers those same things. And so we'll talk about that a little bit too. So the question is this for me? Did I mess something up? Making sure I didn't. Okay, yeah. So how many sexual assault incidents go unreported to authorities? Well, I'll tell you what in my younger years, when I was not as, yes, too many, Rachel, I agree. When I was not aware of the Clery Act and its all the different pieces to it, I used to think that we had zero, right? Whenever there was a zero on the crime stats, it was one of those things that, oh my God, we haven't had any rapes, domestic violence, dating violence on the annual security report, and so our campus must be safe. Well, that's because people were not reporting it, right? And we know the Violence Against Women Act and the changes in Title IX after the Dear Colleague letter, and state law in the state of Texas, because of a number of legislative mandates, has really increased our reporting. So when there's a zero on the campus crime statistics, and there hasn't been at UNT for quite some time, but if there's a zero, that causes me some pause to go, do we need to look at ways that people can report, or do we really have zero VAWA crimes is what we call them? Our office does help students that go through the trauma of sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, and stalking, and through our survivor advocate. And so we'll talk a little bit about that in a few more minutes. One of the biggest crimes that bothers me the most and makes me react probably a little bit differently than any of the other ones, because it is a crime that is still going on and it's not completely finished, is that of stalking. If you get some time and want to go watch a UNT, a time that we did, we handled a situation extremely well in a stalking situation. You can go back to 48 hours that occurred back in, I believe, February, and a situation where a TWU student was murdered, but we had helped our student who lived at the university, who lived on campus significantly. I see a lot of stalking, and those are the ones that scare me, that keep me up at night, that make the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Checking phones, trackers on phones, trackers on cars, when somebody may have a lot of jealousy, or students feel like, or faculty or staff even feel like people are showing up at their houses. And so it's one of those that I do have concerns about. And I know many times the police and myself are having conversations when we do have those concerns. Want to share some red flags in regards to some behaviors that, if any of these are going on at home, it's important to make sure that you evaluate that relationship and get help if you need to. All of these things here are definitely not things that you would want in a healthy relationship, and usually lead to more extreme measures as time goes on. So I want to make sure that you're aware of the red flags of checking phones without permission and putting people down. You know, if emotional abuse is, to me, is just as bad as physical abuse. And so that's something definitely that you want to pay attention to with your friends, families, and coworkers. What we will always preach is that if somebody reports to you a crime of violence, but in particular, you're mandated by law, unless you are a student attorney, a counselor in the role of a counselor on campus, and a healthcare provider on our campus, you are all mandated reporters under our new sexual misconduct policy that was brought forth from the Texas legislature from a number of different rules that were approved 2 years ago. And so you're starting to see so many different times where we talk about how you have to report it. When somebody does come to you and wants to confide in you that they have been sexually assaulted or that they've been a victim of domestic violence or they're being stalked, please listen to them. Validate their feelings, let them talk. Don't feel like you have to get it all in because you have to report it. Get what you can, and then support their decision on what happens next. I tell a lot of people that don't want to report something but feel like they have to, and they have to under actually state law and university policy, but promise privacy, that you're only going to tell the people that need to know. You can't promise confidentiality. And so I want to make sure that that's really clear, that you can do that. Don't give judgment or blame, especially if you know the other party. I've seen people, just say, oh, well, they would never do something like that. Be careful. Always show empathy for sure. There is some kind of trauma there, no matter if it's mental or physical or whatnot, and we want to make sure that we are always listening and not judging. We have a survivor advocate on campus. Her name is Esther Opong, and she is out of my office. She has a graduate assistant that helps her with a number of things as well. So the graduate assistant has been trained very well to also help our students who are victims of domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking. And so please get them to us. If you file the report through our portal, which is report.unt.edu, the survivor advocate, as well as the Title IX coordinator and myself, are all triggered immediately to take care of the student and start the process. So Esther, as the survivor advocate, reaches out that day or the next business day to see what kind of accommodations and how we can best help that person. So here's some things in regards to active bystander. Be an active bystander. Don't just watch everybody else. Do something about it, so on and so forth. And I look at a number of different times we see situations on the news and how many times people probably could have stepped in and failed to do so, and what a different situation might have been. Stand, speak up, tell us what's going on. When we're talking about basically talking to people, confront the situation directly. Don't try to tiptoe around it. Directly intervene when you see something escalating. Please don't go to Twitter and say, this is what's going on right now. We ask you to step in and say, what's going on? Even when we're here now, people are not wearing masks and somebody's confronting it. If you're a person of authority, can you go and say, hey, let's break this up. Let's talk through this, what's going on, because sometimes things are getting a little heated. And so be somebody that intervenes directly to the conversation or the situation. Delegate, get others. Say you have to call 911 and you can't do that and give chest compressions at the same time. Tell somebody to call 911 while you're giving chest compressions. And so thinking of it from that perspective, where can you delegate? Where can you tell somebody to help you get help? And then if there's a distraction, to diffuse the situation and give a moment to calm down. There's always a story that a guy and a girl were at a fraternity party off campus, and this is not UNT, this is just a story we often tell. And they might have roofied her drink, and so they start dancing, and the active bystander steps in and says, hi Mo, hey, do you have a tampon, because I know I have my period and I know you're on it too. And then what happened was that situation broke down, right? Because the guy didn't want anything to deal with that. And so even thinking of and being creative like that, where can you step in and kind of take care of the situation, or step in and say, hey, you're my ride home, I need you to take me. Whether it's true or not, you're intervening. And so that's important to be creative and know in the back of your head what you would do in a situation like that. Those kinds of situations with the age of students that we deal with and interact with are very much things you have to be a little bit creative with. And so think that way, and how can you best be an active bystander. Washing one's hands of conflict between the powerful and the powerless means to side with the powerful, not to be neutral. I totally agree with this. Have been many times when I was younger caught as being not an active bystander, and then the guilt that I feel afterwards because I know I didn't do the right thing, as well as the trauma I might have helped to prevent, is important. And so think about that too, and what you can really do in regards to speaking up. And I look at this a lot too when we're talking about racism and a lot of discriminatory things that we hear nowadays to speak up. Green Dot is our active bystander education program that runs out of our survivor advocacy office. Please feel free at any time to inquire about that. We are always training more people, and it's kind of been on hiatus a little bit with the pandemic, but we're trying to move forward in regards to getting it up and running again. And what better color to have than Green Dot by UNT. So that is my presentation, and here we are all here to answer questions.
Great. Yes, thank you so much, Mo. Thank you everyone for being here today. I know a lot of people, I know we're out of time, so a lot of people do need to hop off, but we will hang out here for just a few more minutes in case anyone has some questions. Of course, you're more than welcome to email us at any time if something comes to mind later. But thank you everyone again so much for being here. We really enjoyed having this session. Hopefully soon we can have this presentation in person again. But until that time, I really appreciate the great turnout, and thank you again for being here.